Back to them before we say goodbye. The celebrations going strong in the dressing room. What next for them? A couple of their players already talked about this being a platform. We'll discuss that next.
So we played a game of football as they wanted it to be, and that's a compliment to them because we didn't came into our rhythm. They were really aggressive, trying to make sure we couldn't bring the ball out from the back. And the moments we could, they defended really well in and around their box. And so yeah, it was the game went their way. Let's put it that way.
So did you get locked into quite a direct match? Were you maybe not brave enough bringing the ball out through their pressure, their high pressure?
I wouldn't say not brave enough, but they went man for man in a high press, and they have players that are very strong and good in the duels. So I think Dan Burn won every header and every duel he went for, including the goal he scored. And it's not only him. I think a very good game plan from them and a deserved win for Newcastle.
How much of a problem were their set pieces? The tactic seemed to be to hit them set pieces deep and almost take Virgil and Konate out of the game, if you like.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But normally then the header is also quite far away. But again, the game went their way in a sense that we played the game like they would prefer the game to go. So there were a lot of free kicks, set pieces, and they are and were today really strong in that. And that also led to the first goal. And the second goal was the cross from the side. And again, they are taller, maybe stronger in the duels, heading duels. And both goals came from that.
So what could you have done differently? What could you have done to make it your type of game and not their type of game?
Yeah, then we have to be better with the ball, which is not so easy. But then the moment you do have the ball, you have to create more, and then you are always waiting for a moment, maybe where the game can go your way, where maybe a bit more space opens up. But if you're then just before halftime going 1-0 down, normally in a game like this, in the second half or in the end of the first half, it opens up a bit more. But now, of course, we gave them the positive mindset by being 1-0 up. And not long after the break, they made it 2-0. So that then, yeah, they're just gonna fight even harder for every second, every ball. And we did have one or two chances, but altogether, Newcastle deserved to win.
Does Tuesday play a part in today, whether it's in terms of energy, emotion, mentality? Not at all.
No. These two games are exactly the opposite from each other. So you cannot compare these two games at all. All the things I've said about the game about Tuesday are exactly the opposite tonight.
But does Tuesday kind of knock you flat going out of that competition, giving so much and losing such a good game? Is there almost a hangover today, I guess is what I'm asking?
No. Then that would not do justice to Newcastle. The game went the way they wanted it to be, and it wasn't about energy. Normally, energy you mostly see in your pressing part, but there was nothing to press because they played over a press, which was very smart and a good idea. And that's why I constantly keep repeating myself, saying that they deserved this win.
After the season you've had, I mean, it's gone perfectly, really, up until this week. Does it feel like, has it knocked you flat? Has it felt like it's come out of the blue almost?
No, because I knew the quality of Paris Saint-Germain. I also know how difficult it is to play against this playing style. And we started the week off by winning against Southampton, in which we extended our lead to 12 points. So it wasn't all bad what happened this week. Southampton was a good win. That's why we extended the lead to 12 points. Paris Saint-Germain, great game of football. Today, I don't think anyone that's a Liverpool fan was happy about what they saw. But yeah, that sometimes unfortunately happens as well, and it's not the first time that we have some difficulties with Newcastle, because the first game when we played there was similar to this one, was a real hard one for us as well.
How big is the job ahead then? 9 games to go in the Premier League. Obviously that one big prize still to go for. How big a job for you to pick your players up in, I think it's 15, 16 days time and go again for what's left?
First of all, they go to the national teams now, and then when they come back, we've got a fantastic game again to play with Everton at home. So we know the importance of the upcoming 9 games. We know that we have to do certain things better, which is normal. But during this season, we've done so many things right. So if we are back in 2.5 weeks for the Premier League, we will be ready to face Everton.
Thank you, Arne.
You're welcome.
What do you want to unpick from that?
I find it difficult to be too critical of the team. I must say that's one of the worst performances I've seen from Liverpool in a cup final, probably going back for a very long time. But they've given so much this season, and probably in a position in terms of the league title where no one really expected. They've lost 1 league game. They've lost here tonight, and they've lost 1 Champions League game, really. I mean, they've lost in the FA Cup and maybe a dead rubber in the Champions League. But I think what this last week has done is probably shone a light on where Liverpool still need to improve in. And I think the lack of pace in the team, I think, is glaring in the attack. And I almost feel a little bit sorry for Mo Salah, because he's taken a little bit of criticism after the 2 Paris Saint-Germain games, because he was up against possibly the best left back in the world in Mendes, who was fantastic. He didn't do too much. He wasn't great today, but he doesn't get help off the other attackers. This is not like it was under Jurgen Klopp, where Mane could bail Liverpool out of trouble, or Firmino. The other attackers Liverpool have got are good players. They're not great players, and they've relied on him so far. So I don't want to see too much criticism for Mo Salah over this last week. What it's shone a light in is that Liverpool need to go and buy 2 attackers, not as squad players, possibly to play alongside Mo Salah, hopefully for next season. So I think that's what's happened in the last week. I've been excited, thinking looks like Liverpool are going to win the league, and there's still lots to improve. So I'm not just saying this on the back of the team losing, but I still think there's a lot of areas for Liverpool to improve, and I think they will in the summer.
He said taller, stronger, and when referring to Newcastle, and they were clever in their game plan today in going long, which gave Liverpool nothing to press. If you are an opposition manager going for, if you're David Moyes ahead of the Merseyside derby, are you taking note of that?
Well, they'll do that anyway, Everton. That's obviously.
Well, yeah, my
they'll
point,
make
exactly,
it really difficult for them. But he stood next to you 2 guys, and he bumped into you, and he said there's going to be a lot of those sort of collisions, and that's something you have to always take into consideration. But I wasn't surprised about Newcastle play today, and I don't think for 1 second that Liverpool would have been. I don't think he wanted to take away anything from what they did. They played so well, but I don't for 1 second think that result on Tuesday, going at 120 minutes, extra time, losing on penalties, how tired and difficult it would have been to go again. And he went with us pretty much the same team, but you've also taken out such a lot of their creativity about Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back, because he will just create one thing. I looked at Liverpool today and thought, where's that bit of spark, that creativity going to come from? They really missed him as well. Gakpo's obviously not quite right at the moment, but again, you can't take anything away from what Newcastle did. They were magnificent. I remember I spoke to Jason Tinder before the game. He went, it couldn't have gone better for us, really. The fact that they had to go through the wire on Tuesday and make it so difficult for them, they felt they could use that to advantage if they started well and got after Liverpool, and that's exactly what they did.
I think a big thing this season that stood out, and it's probably come back to bite him on the backside a little bit today, the manager. He doesn't change the team. Now we're getting used to the manager. We don't know if this is his way that he's always done, when he just picks his best team, and it's probably put Liverpool in a great position to win the league title. It also shows you that in this league as well, they almost look like they're running out of steam and legs, and the fact that he's very reticent to change the team or give the head to some players who don't normally play week in, week out, meant he still almost played his best team against Southampton, one of the worst teams we've seen in the Premier League. It was at Anfield, because he still felt, I can't take the risk in terms of maybe bringing players off the bench to play in this game. So that's something I think going forward in terms of improving the squad, so he can actually change players like Gravenberch, who looked tired today, Szoboszlai, McAllister. He never changes that midfield, really. And again, that's probably something he's got to learn next season. He's got to probably trust the squad a little bit more, that if they want to go further in the Champions League.
The last time we did that, he got knocked out against Plymouth. So he probably thinks, I can't really trust.
No, that was changing 10 players.
Well, I know, but Jay, if he leaves out a load of players today and they lose, we stand here and go, well, why has he done that today? So you can't really win, can you?
No, I'm talking about maybe changing 2 or 3 players and he plays his best team almost every game, and that's put Liverpool in the position that they are. But I think going forward, if Liverpool want to obviously go further in the Champions League. I do think he's probably got to be a little bit braver with his squad, but that will come with basically better players in his squad.
Everybody in football is guilty of this. You're 90 minutes away from glory, you're 90 minutes away from a catastrophe, you know what I mean? Like the roof's caving in and everything. Is his biggest task over the next 10 days or whatever, with players away on international duty, just to make sure everything just stays calm? They've got a 12-point lead at the top of the Premier League.
At the start,
not everything is caving in.
No, well, at the start of the week we were talking about them doing it, the possibility of them doing a treble, and within a week they're now just looking at the league, and fatigue and as you said, that game took so much out of them on Tuesday night. And coming here today, I was thinking to myself, Newcastle, if they could get at them. And if you're the manager, you're thinking, well, okay, we've gone out, but what better game could you go into today, playing in a cup final, to lift your players again? If it was a league game, you would have probably gone, changed 2 or 3 players. But because it was a cup final, you're probably thinking, your energy is going to come from that. So I wouldn't criticise him too much for not changing the team. It was when it started to go wrong, how quickly he didn't change it quick enough for me. It was he probably could have done it a bit quicker to get some more fresh legs on there. But at the start, I would have probably gone with the same side, because I would have thought probably they could get lifted.
Yeah, I mean, take nothing away from their manager. I mean, the job he's done has been phenomenal. I know they've had a disappointing week. Les is right. Treble at the start of the week, and now they're only on for the Premier League. But if you said to any Liverpool fan at the start of this season, you'll win the Premier League and nothing else, they would have snapped your hands off. They really would, because Jurgen Klopp was at the club for 8 years, and everyone was nervous. Going, who's this guy coming in? There's going to be a massive drop off. Panic stations. What's going to happen? He's came in. He's added maybe 1 player, Chiesa, I think it is, not many players extra. He's worked with the squad he's been given, and the job he's done in the Premier League is just phenomenal. So you've got to give this guy great credit for what he's done.
I think what Shay says there is important. Even if you were Man City or Chelsea, who notoriously have won a lot of Premier League titles, you said that about any manager, you're going to win the league. No matter what else happens, you bite your hand off. But we're talking about Liverpool. They've won it once in 35 years now. So, I mean, the Premier League is absolutely massive to this club and what they could do, and it still is going to be, fingers crossed, if everything goes to plan, an unbelievable season, because we aren't a club, unfortunately, that have, in sort of the last 30 years, have won titles every few years. It hasn't happened, so it could be still a very special season. It's been a special day, a special afternoon for Newcastle. We'll turn our attention toward, which shows they're not resting on their laurels, and I suppose the very next thing, Shay, given they need to achieve, is what we expect to be top 5. I know we've got the dotted line there below 4, but top 5 to make the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be huge celebrations tonight, and I suppose the international breaks come at a good time for Newcastle as well, because they can regroup, get themselves settled after celebrations, I'm sure, for the next couple of days. But look at that Premier League race as well for top 4. It's a huge race that Eddie Howe knows how important it is, even for recruitment in the summer. What budget he's going to have, that'll help that as well. But his job's easier if he goes, we've got Champions League next season coming, we've just won a trophy, we want to add to that next season, and he's got some big games coming up. And 5 of those 6 at home are against sides that are in the bottom half of the table, Les. Yeah,
and I think there's always pivotal games in the season where if you win them, it just kicks you on, and you win your next 2-3 games, because the lift that game gives everybody. I think this here today will give them such a lift to go into those last few games of the season that could propel them into that top 4 position.
He's got to keep them focused as well,
because
there's going to be a lot of excitement.
You don't doubt that, though, do you?
No, you don't
doubt that.
You don't. I mean, I remember winning the League Cup many years ago, and we had won a couple of games, and then we sort of slipped off. And you have to just make sure that doesn't happen. They've got Brentford at home next game. Brentford have won the last 5 away from home. It's not going to be easy, but they've just got to make sure they stay focused. They're in a great position. He's got good energy about the club, and you can imagine if you say they've got lots of games at home, that atmosphere is going to be absolutely red hot.
I just think the magnitude of this game here today. I know what you're saying. Sometimes you win a game, and if you're expected to win that game, then you can go and you can take your foot off the pedal a little bit. But they weren't expected to win here today, and I think that'll give them such a boost that they'll go on and hopefully win those games that they need to get into the top 4 position.
Given what they've done, and given when you look at the financial constraints that so many clubs have operated under, what is it called? It's called squad cost or something next season, isn't it? PSR or something like that. But you would imagine that Champions League is probably imperative for them to build on this.
Well, if you remember last year when they missed out, and I think they had to let a couple of players go who they didn't really want to let go. You wouldn't class them as probably out and out first teamers at the time. I think Minter and Elliot Anderson. Yeah, you know, probably squad players, but they're probably at a stage now because they've got some special players in that team that if they're not consistently getting Champions League football, they may have to lose one of those, you know, stars. We know the 4 or 5 who they are, who are probably coveted by other clubs. I don't think that'll be the case this summer because I think on the back of this today and the scenes at the end, they'll all be desperate to stay at the club, and rightly so. But it's obvious now, not just for Newcastle, but any team now, you want to keep your best players and be competing year after year. You need Champions League football.
I think that's right. I mean, Guimaraes and Isak, there's always chat about maybe they could be leaving. From your perspective, it's imperative you keep them, obviously.
I think Alex mentioned his interview. He said this is the start of something special. That's what he said. That's what I was trying to get at. I didn't outright ask him.
You wanted him to say he was going to stay.
And he answered
please stay.
He answered like a politician. He went some more different angle. I think at the start of that, his answer was, yeah, this is the start of something for us to build on. So I give me confidence that he'll be here next year because I think he's a huge part of the club. You want to go to the next level. You want to build your team around Alexander Isak, and I hope he's going to stay, yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with Jamie. They need to get it in there, but it's going to be about PSR and what they can do because, you know, people are going to call him, and if they haven't got the money to go and strengthen that squad, they're going to have to sell someone. But sincerely hope it's not this summer.
You will both know, and this is the final point, I suppose, that not winning a domestic trophy for 70 years cannot be the fault of current players or you know, you have to wear the history of your club, don't you? Yeah. But it affects you. And now that's been lifted.
Well, it does, because I've been there myself, waking up in the morning of a cup final for Newcastle, and you feel it as a player because it's been so long. You feel that expectancy. The whole Geordie nation wants you to do it, and again you lose at the end of the final, and you feel like you've let the whole city down. Now this group of players have done the absolute opposite. They had that pain 2 years ago by losing, and now they've got the absolute opposite, and they'll be heroes for the rest of their lives in Newcastle after this.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we came so close to winning the league, didn't quite get across the line, and as you said, you feel like you've let down the whole town, everybody involved in Newcastle, and to see them win it today, I'm so delighted for them because those supporters have followed them around the country, up and down the country for years.
Okay, so much more live sport coming your way, including on Sky Sports Tennis in a little while, just about an hour's time, a huge final for Jack Draper.